Are we having a party here? I don't know.
Welcome to Polishing Profits. Join our 3 industry experts boasting 140 years of experience as they unlock building service contracting secrets that can revolutionize your business. Well, hello, and welcome to a new episode of Polishing Profits. Polishing your floors, you can polish your profits, right? So with us here today are 2 people in red and 1 blue. I'm the only one that didn't open up the email. Okay? But with that said, I can't read. I don't look at my email. I'm getting old, you know. What can I say? We were going to call it the Gray Beard Group, but Sharon just couldn't comply.
No.
And Tom wouldn't sit in for it. So
No.
anyway, with all that said, Sharon, say hello to the audience.
Hi, everybody. Welcome.
Yeah. And we've got 5-gallon bucket Ed. Ed, why are you the 5-gallon bucket guy?
Because I'm sitting here on a 5-gallon pail in the electronic janitorial closet, of course.
All right. And we're going to talk about that someday, but that's just something our listeners can look forward to. So with that said, today we are on the last portion of quality management systems. And probably the best title for this is We've Done Everything Right and It Still Goes in the Crapper. The customer's angry. What do? We're on the chopping block, whether it's a small deficiency or a large deficiency. Part of providing service, a big part, is service recovery, failure recovery. What do you do? How do you do it? What should you be looking for? How should you be set up? So today I'm going to read the topic, Methods for Handling Customer Complaints and Deficiencies. 40,000 foot view again, give you some ideas on how to handle those things. So that's probably one of the biggest alligators we wrestle in the swamp when something goes bad, big or small. So Sharon, I'm going to defer to you since you're immediately to my right.
Okay.
You want to open us up? Let's get after it for the audience.
Okay.
Cool.
So the 40,000 foot view, we want to have a written idea of what your plan is. And again, I always go back to the plan, the organization of your quality assurance program. You really want to have something in writing that talks about how you're going to handle deficiencies. You can include this in your proposal if you like, because it gives your customer, your prospect, a little peace of mind that you are aware that there are going to be times when there are deficiencies, but what are you going to do about it? And having that in writing is huge for your customer. Also, we want to talk about the swiftness with which you resolve those issues. If someone contacts your office through their portal or the communication or a phone call, whatever it is, the faster you can take care of it, the better. There's no such thing as, well, we'll be there tomorrow night and we'll get it then. You have to be prepared to send somebody immediately, if not sooner, to get it taken care of, depending, of course, on what it is. If it's a trash basket missed, that can put a customer over the edge and be cause for a cancellation. But if it's a trash, maybe you can wait till that evening. You can wait till the next day. You don't have to. But you really need to have a written plan of how you're going to handle it, and how fast you're going to handle it is a key part of that.
Ed, how about service failure recovery? Big part of the whole quality management system.
Yeah, let me just take off on something that Sharon just pointed Sharon just made about the timeliness. Okay, when I discovered that response was one of the top 5 reasons that people would change cleaning contractors, and of course this was a while ago before there were cell phones and immediate email and all that stuff. But what I thought was, then what we need a policy. We need a positive policy to deal with that. Honestly, the model was, folks are surprised, but the truth of the matter is that I'm from New York City, where pizza is a religion. Okay. And somehow a really awful company grew to be one of the largest pizza companies in the world by delivering in 30 minutes.
Ah.
Now, wait a minute. If you could build an international brand over a bad pizza that got to you quickly, what does that say to us? And so 30 minutes was pretty much it. And if you recall, I mean, an awful lot of that time thing back then was just finding a damn phone booth. I can't get to a phone, the pager's going off. I got to get to a phone booth if I'm not in the office. So what we did was we made a 30-minute, that was a policy to get it done in 30 minutes. And what I found was that particularly when there was a problem, when there was something wrong going on, something that they were uncomfortable with, that we were able to fix and look like stars, okay, that when you could do that in 30 minutes, you could charge anything you wanted. And they didn't give a shit. They just didn't care.
Absolutely.
They did not care. So look, man, when there's like one small turd in the lobby, okay, if we can get it out of there in 30 minutes, that's a $200 turd.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's true.
$200 POS.
In 1980, $80.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd have to ratchet that up about 60%.
That's we did that all the time. Banks would call us, and they might have had an elderly customer that had an accident. Can you come and clean it up, man? You better get there and do it right, and you can charge whatever you want to charge.
You can charge whatever you want, man. They'll do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Now, years later, I found out this was the secret to having to deal with the damn cell phones. Was you just go into the store, you tell them. I always do my confused old guy shtick, and I just tell them, and the kids come running to fix it because they're afraid I'm going to have an accident in the lobby. So.
TMI. Okay.
And I don't have to learn all this. I don't have to learn all this stuff on the phone. It's like
you just learned how to manipulate the system, get somebody else to do it for you.
Fix it.
Only 5-gallon Ed could do that.
5-gallon bucket, Selkow. So we're talking about fast response. I get that on that side. Our guarantee was if you call our office, and we were all set up for this, we guaranteed you a 2-hour response.
Mm-hmm.
So your call will not go more than 2 hours before you hear from someone.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, I can't tell you how many times people would look and say, "Are you kidding?" Nope, we're set up. We had the whole system set up to be able to do that. And, that got easier as you got direct connection with cell phones. You guys will remember this. You used to have a receptionist sitting there. They'd call the office. And then you'd start the whole chain of events and hope somebody had, to Ed's earlier point, 20 quarters in their cup holder and their pager on. Right. So you could find them and get them to find a phone booth and call back. That got a lot simpler as the communication chain shortened over the years to cell phone. And they just called our GMs directly and got them. And if everybody wasn't available, they knew when they would be. But we guaranteed 2 hours, and we delivered. And people want stuff done, and particularly when they're angry. Mm-hmm. If it's a large service failure, they want you, and they want you now, and they don't want to have to look for you. And they usually want somebody at the top of the food chain.
Because that anger is growing the longer they wait. That anger is just smoldering until they're mad enough to say, "Forget it, we'll get somebody else."
Yeah, we're going. Our favorite words. We're going to bid. This isn't fixed tomorrow. We're going to bid.
Yeah.
Okay. What can I do for you? So we really worked hard on the communication and response and getting in front of them. I mean, if it was, we were there. One time I can remember we were 170 miles away from the customer.
Wow.
And he called at 11 o'clock in the morning and said, "We want to see you guys." It was down in Oregon. Okay, great. And he was the head of international facilities for the entire operation worldwide. So I said, looked at the watch. Business partner was in the office. I said, "We can be there in 2.5, 3 hours. Fine." So we jump in the car. We drive all the way down from Seattle to Portland. You can look it up on the map. We get there. He makes us wait 40 minutes in the lobby. So we're sitting there cooling our heels. Not a clue what this guy's going to talk about. And this was one of our largest customers. I mean, at this point in time, they were billing about $20,000 a month and growing. And the guy waltzes down, gets in the conference room, calls us in, and looks at us, looks at his watch, and goes, "That's impressive. I guess you guys really are going to take care of me and you consider my call serious." And I said, "Anything else?" He goes, "Nope. Just wanted to see if the owners actually responded." So we walked out of the meeting, went to the nearest bar, had a couple drinks, and drove home.
Wait a minute. You're saying that was a test?
Yep.
What an asshole. My
Well,
God.
when you dealt with in the high-tech industry back in the day, that's how it went. I'm not going to mention any company
Oh, yeah,
name.
listen, yeah, I know. I'm impressed. These are the same guys that gave us Windows 8, remember? We're not impressed. We're not impressed.
And their big customer was Intel, who was all hooked. It was doing all the chips then. Yeah, he just did that. And we had the account for 15 years, and the account grew from 20,000 to when we sold the company right around 80 to 100,000 a month. And then it grew with the people that took it over from us to almost 200,000 a month. So he might have been an ass, but we made a lot of money. So
Yeah.
just, I realize that's an extreme point. And yet everybody says the same thing when I tell them that story. What an ass. But that one worked for us. And we've had times it didn't work. We've had times we went in and got our head chopped off and handed to us. And
Mhm.
Well, no, the response is huge.
Yeah.
My first foray into the retail cleaning world was with an outfit out of New York. And there was a fellow who had been literally begging for an account from a very, very large national retailer. And finally he got one. But it was 1,900 miles away from where he lived.
Oh,
When he would get a complaint, though, he would get on a plane and fly there. And that might sound extreme, but the way the story ended was he wound up with a $25 million a month account with this retailer.
yep. And I think to wrap this little portion up, it's the speed with which you respond
mhm.
and how seriously you take it, regardless of the size, that lets people know that you value their business.
Mhm.
And that's why eventually we got out of the smaller accounts, because we couldn't afford to provide that level with how
That
we were
level.
set up.
Mhm.
That was a conscious decision. So the other thing that I'll kind of jump this one off, but swift response, talking with the customer, getting in front of them. Sometimes you have to get in front of them. To the other
Mhm.
point, a phone call isn't enough. We had a 9-point system. I'm going to glance over here at my notes, but we basically called it the complaint issue resolution process cycle flow. You like that one? So basically all the complaints from how we did business, we looked at them this way. So we got the complaint. You don't know when you get the complaint whether it's valid or not, right? So the first thing you got to do is validate it. So you get the complaint, it comes in, you've got to validate it. That was the fast response. We had something called the CIO, and it wasn't the chief information officer, it was check it out. So in other words, go check it out. Go see what they're talking about. Don't handle it from your desk whenever possible.
Okay.
Then we'd tell them, we'd give them a correction point. We're going to have this fixed, and we're not talking about a hard fail. Then we'd inspect it that night. Then that feedback would come back. That would be reported. We'd report it. We'd get back to the customer. We'd let it go. We'd review it. After the review, we'd close that ticket out. And after we closed it out, it went on a monitoring and another reporting cycle to make sure it stayed closed and out of the purview of the client. And that was our complaint cycle follow-up. So we had a whole procedure that we went through to close it out. Because little
Right.
complaints, sometimes customer doesn't care how big it is. If they're calling you 4 times a month, 5 times a month, and it's all little stuff, that's just as bad as leaving the front door open to the bank, okay?
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden you're on the radar. Why do they hire us? Because they don't want to deal with it. It's a real simple principle.
Right.
Ed, you're over there nodding. You got a thought for us on all that after my wonderful explanation?
What we had was we made a big deal out of something, and I didn't invent this. I got this from someplace else, and I don't remember where. But what we had was it was a little half of an 8.5 by 11 sheet that was an NCR form in triplicate, and it was a servogram. Everything went on a servogram. The big thing on the servograms is that some things were problems to be resolved, but also in the servograms were things that were requested. Was it a request or a complaint?
Mm-hmm.
And what we wanted to do was we wanted to make sure that requests did not look like complaints ever. And it worked out real well. The clients loved them, made it real simple for the cleaning people. Okay. There was a paper trail. And that worked pretty well with us, was the servogram. And I wish I could remember where that came from, but I stole that from somewhere.
Yeah, I wonder how many people know what NCR form is.
Probably not many.
A what? A who?
Yeah.
Well, I think you have to
The
really,
same thing. Today's technology.
yes.
Same
If you're
principle.
If you're getting repeat mistakes, repeat deficiencies, where the same thing is happening over and over, there's several things you have to look at. You really have to look at the personnel. Do they need to be retrained? Maybe there's a gap in what they're understanding. You have to look at the specs. Are they realistic? Do the specs call for cleaning of this area frequently enough? Or are there gaps there? You also have to look at the equipment and the tools that you've given the people to use. And so these are some of the things that, in fairness to your staff and your company, you have to investigate when you're getting repeat complaints. You can get them for any complaints, but especially if you're getting the same one over and over, there's a deficiency somewhere in the training, and you really want to look for that.
When you're into root cause analysis now, yeah. When it keeps popping up, is the supervisor not checking? Is the employee not trained? Yeah, then you're into a root cause analysis, which is a little bigger problem.
Yeah.
One interesting point on that, if you can do that company wide, and the way that we did that was, remember logbooks?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh, no logbooks ever got thrown out.
Right.
And if you went through a series of logbooks in different accounts, what you'll see is all the weak parts of your training.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
I mean, if everybody's got a dusting problem every 3 weeks, we're not dusting, evidently.
Or the other thing you find out is the weak employee, the one that needs more training, because it pops up in every logbook that employee is involved in every account. So
and we track, to those points, guys, we track complaints by supervisors and employees.
Yeah.
We logged all of that. We use an Excel form at the end because all the apps and stuff weren't, gosh, it's been 10 years now since I sold my business. Doesn't seem that long. But we tracked everything. Where do these complaints come from the supervisor? Because, when you're doing a root cause analysis, if I've got 2 or 3 supervisors and the complaints are spread out, I've probably got a training problem with my supervisors, right? We're experiencing things. But if the same person, one supervisor, I've obviously got a problem at both points. So we track all of our complaints by account, by supervisor, by employees. So we would know where to focus our attention. Kind of similar to Ed's logbook approach with training.
Yeah.
And the logbook's now nothing more than a work ticket, an electronic work.
Software does that today.
Yeah, software does all that now.
So
see, look, we've survived, folks. You all can make it 40 years.
Yeah.
The only thing, we were just a level above Fred Flintstone. We didn't have the chisel and the hammer knocking it into the stone. I always tell everybody I graduated with Fred Flintstone, I cheated off his stone paper. Well, let's see. How do we want to wrap this up, guys? Have we covered everything, Sharon? You're the keeper of the outline.
Yes, we did.
That's a heck of a 40,000-foot view.
Mm-hmm.
The Scrub Down, a recap of what was covered on today's episode.
This is where we're going to share with you what we think our key insights are and things that you should focus on relative to serving the customer and responding from a hard service fail or a soft service fail. Sharon, what do you think the audience should get out of our 19-minute discussion here?
So in the judicial system, we talk about a swift and speedy trial. And we're kind of the same. We're on trial with our customers. So we need to have a swift and speedy response to deficiencies. When we screw up, when we mess up, we need to get it fixed, and we need to get it fixed fast. Some companies, to speak to both Ed and Mark, offer a 2-hour window that they give a promise and a commitment they'll return. Some do a 30-minute. And I think the faster you can make the correction happen, the faster it's going to leave the mind of your customer. Otherwise, it's going to smolder and sit there and become a huge mountain out of what might have been a molehill. So
we are a perception business, aren't we?
Yes. Yep.
5 Gallon Ed, what's up? What's going on in your chair?
Well, like I said earlier, I think one of the main takeaways here, one of them anyway, is the need to document. So that we've got a running record of problems. And the thing is that it's not just to resolve problems, but it is very, very, very valuable data. If you're able to compile events, negative events for an entire company, it can be very, very, very valuable in ways that you wouldn't be able to see if you weren't documenting.
So data points is what they call it today.
Absolutely, yeah.
It can definitely give you, so track your data points on service complaints. The one thing, you guys covered most of that pretty well. The one thing I would come back to is making sure that the complaint loop is closed, that you just don't go out, tell somebody to do something, you walk back, it's fixed, and you walk away. Complaints don't go away that quickly. You need to close the complaint cycle. So in other words, check on it, have the supervisor check a few times. Make sure that person, now we're getting back to talking about training, which Sharon was talking about, root cause analysis. Make sure that it's fixed. Make sure that it's off that radar. And then just don't let it go. Go back and check a few weeks later and make sure, because if we don't cycle back, if we don't keep it off the radar and it stays on, complaints do compound. So cycle back, close them up, and make sure they're closed. And you've done the appropriate things with either your supervisor, who's your main quality control person nightly, or the cleaner, that it is handled and it's off the plate and out of the customer's vision. So I think that's it for the scrub down today. There's our points. If you've got some other points you would like to give us or some fun stories, drop a line there in the comments when you're listening to this, and we'll take it up. Heck, who knows? We might even put a 4th panel in here and stick you on the show. I don't know.
Yeah.
You'd have to be careful with Ed, but I think Sharon and I'd be okay. With all that said, another.
Listen, I still got the ankle monitor, so everybody's safe.
Perfect. With that said, I'm going to close Polishing Profits. Adios. Have a good time.
Bye.
Cheers. See you next.